Hello, my friends. In today's episode, we are going to examine the unexaminable. Stay tuned.
When you're coming home, Daddy, I love you. War. What is it good for?
What is it good for? Absolutely. Sing it to me. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa.
About 25 years ago or so, maybe 30 years ago, Bill Gates dabbled onto a subject which was not very well received by the public. Maybe that's why the public actually took a dislike to Mr. Gates. Since then, this subject has never really been mentioned by the mainstream news. In fact, it's never really been mentioned again because it is simply too politically incorrect to talk about. The woke left would never touch it because it violates everything they stand for. And the Christian conservative right would never touch it because it violates everything they stand for. So this has become the unmentionable problem. The problem with the unmentionable problem is that it is the biggest problem in the whole wide world that no one is talking about.
Between now and 2030, 2 billion babies will be born, each requiring access to healthcare services. 2 billion children will reach school age, each needing access to high-quality education. And more than 1.2 billion young people will transition into adulthood and begin looking for jobs. In some countries, the total population will grow, while in others, it will decline. One thing that all countries have in common is the need to plan for population aging. People aged 60 and older are now the world's fastest growing age group. Ensuring their economic security in later life, meeting their healthcare needs, and protecting their rights must remain a top priority.
After World War II, America held 6% of the world's population and 50% of the world's wealth. America became the model of the world. Everybody in the world wanted to live like an American.
Marking 75 years of independence, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi pledged to turn the country into a developed nation in the next 25 years. Now, India in the past managed to launch itself and parts of its 1.4 billion people into the ranks of leading countries in IT, pharmacy, space science, and civil nuclear energy.
Luxury apartments and slums, hunger and high-tech, abject poverty and economic abundance. India is a country of sharp contrasts and is currently the fastest growing economy in the world. With growth currently exceeding more than 8%, India is increasingly becoming a strong counterweight to China. But despite its economic success, India has lagged behind in many areas. Almost 2/3 of its population live in unspeakable poverty. This was also an issue for Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his election campaign last year. Those who still don't have houses, I assure you, you will have your own houses. This is my dream. When this country celebrates the 75th anniversary of its independence, there will be no poor without a roof over their head. We are working on it.
Since World War II, many Americans have retired and people are living longer. The retirees have entitlements. Many people who have retired have a greater income retired than they did when they were working. For example, a fireman may have been earning the equivalent of $60,000 a year when he was working. After he retires, he gets $100,000 a year. He gets his 401k, he gets a pension from his job, he gets his Social Security, and he's got a great life, and he's got an array of medication to keep him alive for a long time. So who's going to pay for all of these entitlements? And that's only in America. What about India? What about the world? What about the pollution? What about feeding 8 billion people and rising? How can the world possibly sustain this? The oceans are running out of fish, and the oceans are full of plastic bags.
If you live in America and you pay taxes, you want to pay attention to this video. Look, everybody in America knows Social Security is broken. Everybody knows it. It doesn't matter if you're 20 years old or 70 years old. Everyone knows it's broken. However, most people don't know why. Today in this video, I'm going to break down with you, going back to when Social Security benefits first got started, what the actual age was supposed to be compared to the life expectancy at the time, and how the numbers gone up, and last but not least, 5 sources of retirement that people rely on, and how some things have changed in the last few years. We bring in $3.3 trillion per year. That's income. That's revenues coming in, right? But America spends $4.1 trillion per year, which is a loss of $800 billion per year. And because of that, here's our total unfunded liabilities. U.S.'s total unfunded liabilities, which means we have not paid for this. We're going to be paying for this. What's the total amount? If you go on U.S. Debt Clock website, you can see the link where you normally share this debt clock. It tells you to the second where we are today. And when I did it, it's probably going to be higher when you do it. When I did it, Social Security, unpaid commitment is $20 trillion, $60 billion. $20 trillion, $60 billion that we haven't yet paid out, that we got to pay out. And last year alone was $1 trillion. For unfunded liabilities with Medicare is roughly $31 trillion. But total unfunded liabilities of America, you ready? 126 trillion, 248, 618, 123.
As you all know, the world has just sustained a worldwide pandemic. This pandemic was extremely dangerous, where possibly 0.0001% of the world's population was killed off by this mysterious concoction that came out of Wuhan, China.
In the time you watch this, almost 1,200 people will have been added to our population. Breathing the same oxygen, sharing the same space, and creating more and more greenhouse gases.
Worries about overpopulation are back.
We need to address much more aggressively the population part of the equation.
If we keep ignoring this exponential population rise, nature will reduce human population for us.
There was a huge campaign to vaccinate everyone in Central Africa from the much revered and feared virus. The virus did not affect people in Central Africa. Virtually nobody died of this plague in Central Africa, you see, because it's not because they have a natural immunity to this particular virus. It's because their immune systems are very robust, because they're exposed to a lot of different bugs and viruses floating around Central Africa. They are stronger than us. That's why it was not a pandemic in Central Africa. Nevertheless, they still needed to be vaccinated. Now, why is that? Is that so that Pfizer can make more money? I guess that's one of the reasons. But another reason could be, this is just my own speculation, to compromise their immune system so that they're not so robust, and so that they won't live very long, and so that they won't reproduce so much. Would anyone do anything as devious as that?
In 1911, Nigeria had 16 million inhabitants. Today, after 110 years, there are 211 million Nigerians. And the forecasts say that this is just the beginning. Although people are the greatest capital of any country, such a drastic demographic boom opens a Pandora's box, which will be extremely difficult to close. As a result, there are 500,000 new Nigerians per month, or more than the population of Oslo, Norway. Now, this also means that the population of Nigeria, with the current trend, doubles approximately every 25 years. Statistically, the average Nigerian woman gives birth to more than 5 children. According to the United Nations, around 43% of Nigerians are under 15 years of age. Only 5% are over 60 years of age. By comparison, Japan is on the other end of the spectrum, having 38% of its population over the age of 60.
Auspiciously, India was very much affected by the Wuhan plague, much to my surprise. I'll tell you why I was so surprised. I have been to India several times, and I have seen things in India that are almost unbelievable to a person from the West. For example, when I was in Calcutta some years ago, I think it's called Calcutta now, but at that time it was called Calcutta, there is a river that runs through that city called the Hooghly River. Let me tell you the color of the Hooghly River. It is black, it is dark brown, and it is silver. It is so polluted that it is beyond belief. You could see dead cows, all bloated with rigor mortis, floating down the river. In the river, there will be someone defecating, and right next to the person defecating, someone is brushing their teeth. Yet, the person brushing their teeth does not die from the toxins in that river. Somehow they survive. If you or I took our shoes and socks off and stuck our big toe in that river, we'd most probably contract 1,000 different ailments. But the Indians are robust, and their bodies are immune to these things, and they survive. Why then were they so affected by this concoction out of Wuhan? Or so we were told. Therefore, the nation of India needed to be inoculated. Now, why is that? Was it really because of the Wuhan flu, or was it for another reason? You see, Indians live a long time. There's a low incidence of cancer in India, and heart disease is also very low. Most Indians are vegetarians. So they're living a long time. There's a large elderly population in India, yet the average age in India, I believe, is 18. So do the math. There's also a big campaign in India to make everyone become wealthy, or at least pull everyone out of poverty. The president of India is promising that every Indian should have his own house, his own car, his or her, and their own refrigerator, and that every Indian should be lifted out of poverty. So, how is this going to be possible? It is not possible. So something has to be done. Have a great day.